Happy birthday, dear Mary. Happy birthday.
This is Mary Sims, only moments away from blowing out the candles on her 43rd birthday cake.
Help!
Already 6 pounds down on her latest diet attempt, we all knew it was a very well-deserved piece of cake.
Just roll her over.
Somebody
1, 2, 3.
Because after years of bad diets, a bad divorce, a bad diagnosis, and well, just a lot of bad days, her family was just so happy to see her finally having a good one. In fact, it finally appeared, for the first time in years, that everything was, well, perfect. Which is why if you're over 40 or more than 10, 20, or 50 plus pounds past your healthiest weight like Mary was, it's absolutely critical that you pay close attention, because a Nobel Prize winning 1.7 second solution, the same one Mary barely missed, has now been proven to work better than originally promised by over 88,000 weight loss resistant men and women just like you, who all used a sunrise fat loss doubling reset to lose over 2.5 million pounds in the last 6 months alone. From diabetic single mothers like Judy to arthritis-stricken grandmothers like Sarah, even 78-year-old great-grandfathers like George, as well as 300-pound plus dads like Tate. Average everyday Joes and Janes who had every odd stacked against them, people no different from you, who all realized that a simple, single-second morning reboot has the power to rewire and reawaken your God-given and now scientifically proven 22-hour-a-day weight loss magnification system without diet and exercise. In fact, you may even be a little annoyed when you find out that your solution has been hiding in plain sight all along, and that in the time it takes for you to set your alarm in the morning, you too could be awakening Mother Nature's most powerful fat loss doubling enzyme that lays dormant in even the most stubborn metabolism. And that all it takes is a mere 1.7 seconds. But I can also guarantee you'll also be more than annoyed, frustrated, maybe even feel betrayed when you find out the real root cause behind uncontrollable weight gain. The true villain in this equation has actually been masquerading as your so-called hero for the last 50 years. That's right, no longer can these empty devils blame carbs, processed foods, or your lack of discipline or exercise for the numbers on your scale or that reflection you see in the mirror that you no longer recognize. Because as you'll see in the next minute, it's them who've not only been robbing us of our confidence, along with that reflection we all have a God-given right to, but saturating ourselves with tactics that steal years, and in many cases, decades off the end of our lives as well. You'll also see that a deeper look, one through a microscope, reveals a covert diet-induced cellular apocalypse that's inflicted biological damage inside 9 out of every 10 North American men and women. And as you saw with Mary, has been hammering tiny nails into our metabolism, as well as our coffins, with literal and long-lasting force with each failed weight loss attempt. And believe me, I know this all sounds pretty bleak, but if you look closely, there is a flicker of light at the end of the tunnel. An evolution-tested and unrivaled metabolic resurrection sequence, glowing with such hope-inspiring brilliance for even the most crippled metabolism, that doctors around the world are celebrating, now calling this single-second morning reset the most critically important metabolic breakthrough of the 21st century. As you can probably imagine, this once-in-a-generation rare breakthrough wasn't some skinny tea or DVD, a detox, or the next fad diet. It's not a cleanser or cream because because they don't hand out Nobel Prizes for things like that, do they? That's right. Science and medicine's highest honors, along with now over 88,000 people looking for one last shot, have proven that an all but once forgotten, all natural and flawlessly designed fat loss doubling sequence built by Mother Nature herself still has the power to install relentless immunity while resurrecting your teenage metabolism, proving it doesn't matter how much weight's engulfed your figure over the last few years or decades, or if every diet, workout, supplement, drug, or doctor's failed you as you helplessly watch 20, 30, 50, or even 100 pounds saturate your figure and wring out what's left of your self-esteem. Because now, 88,487 people just like you have proven it works better than originally promised by erasing over 2.5 million pounds, refueled by Mother Nature's most powerful metabolic gift, now breathing a life of evergreen abundance inside the body they deserve. I'll tell you what it is and how to naturally, and as you'll see, almost effortlessly activate it without a bite of diet food or drop of sweat. I'll show you what the next few weeks and months of your life are guaranteed to look like by scientific law. And of course, I'll tell you who the heck I am in a second. But first, all you really need to know is that all those thousands of pounds lost, that's really just one of the perks of this whole thing. Because falling in love with the way you look and feel is really just a pleasant and well-deserved bonus to not only getting to tell your story for a couple decades longer, but literally redefining the one you are living right now with the people who live, love, and depend on you. Especially those little people, like these two little girls, whose mother was once sentenced to a 6% chance of survival, yet would go on to shock her physicians so profoundly that her recovery and her cure have proven that you, or even a 230-pound woman just shook by a thunderclap heart attack, are literally only one link in the chain away from reassembling your metabolism and claiming the body, the immunity, the health, the happiness, and the life each one of us has a God-given right to. That's right, while a higher power blessed Mary Sims and her family with the gift of salvation instead of suffering that day, a 1.7-second solution perfected by Mother Nature, now certified by medicine's highest honors, granted her a second chance to not only blow the candles on her next birthday cake, but to do it all within a body that had voluntarily automated 92 pounds of fat for incineration in the shortest time possible, allowing a woman who once found herself literally dying in her brother's arms to make one of the most unexpected recoveries and awe-inspiring transformations ever seen. Her entire journey unfolded in the blink of an eye. Her friends, her family, her co-workers, and even her doctor stared in disbelief as they watched Mary, a woman once plagued by depression, multiple sclerosis, and heart disease, suddenly running around with the elation-infused energy of an 8-year-old. Then that's the other thing. The food she ate along the way looked something like an 8-year-old would eat as well. Pizza, pasta, ice cream. And of course, all those trips to the Cheesecake Factory, all that food, well, it didn't stand a chance against her new 400 horsepower metabolism because instead of restriction, Mary's single-second practice finally gave her metabolism unchallenged permission to work at lightning speed, which not only safely programmed those 92 pounds for incineration in a record time, but allowed her, and soon you, to finally take a permanent and well-deserved vacation from this, and especially this. Just think of how you would look. Just think of how the rest of your life could look if by the end of today, you dropped the dumbbells and ditched diets forever and instead took under 2 seconds each morning to reinstate Mother Nature's most powerful fat loss flood. The same one we've simply pushed aside for the last 5 decades, yet has the power to swiftly and, of course, gently trigger an all-day surge of immunity multiplication enzymes with a sworn duty to defend against obesity and disease at all costs. You could literally be having your cake and eat it too, and it's easy as 1, 2, well, no, that's it. I've seen it almost 100,000 times now in the last 4 months alone. From energy-deprived blue-collar guys and gals like Terry, Tracy, and Carl, to stress-filled physicians like Dr. Young or surgeons like Dr. Burke, who not only watch their coveralls, suits, belts, and scrubs loosen in record time while putting cheat meals on their daily menu, but clinically cheated the aging process as well by unlocking Mother Nature's very own youth restoration sequence that, like for you, once lay dormant inside them too, right about here. And I understand, although you've had an eyewitness seat to Mary's transformation and a glimpse into the newly restored lives of thousands, if you've still got your guard up or this somehow sounds far-fetched, I get that. They've had just over 50 years to sharpen their dangerously persuasive marketing weapons, conditioning you and I to believe that the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is paved with deprivation and pain. But when you take a second to bridge science with common sense, or even a quick look through the history books, any skepticism is quickly replaced by absolute certainty when you realize that every generation on record, especially these people, the leanest, healthiest, and happiest generation in human history, they didn't hand their money over to Jenny Craig, Beachbody, Weight Watchers, or Dr. Bernstein. To look like this, he didn't have to hire a trainer, and she didn't ever have to diet because, because diets didn't really even exist in 1960. They didn't need to. Why would they? This generation was still activating Mother Nature's most potent metabolic gift on a daily basis, allowing them to eat and drink pretty much whatever they wanted, without any of the guilt or confidence-stripping penalties that you or I would suffer. Strange, right? Well, not really, and like a key sliding into a lock, everything is about to make perfect sense, especially when you realize this same effortless act that almost all of us now skip on a daily basis is actually the same one closely guarded by today's fittest, leanest, and most disease-resistant people en route to living their metabolically privileged 100-year lives. And like I said before, you'll definitely be more than annoyed when you realize they convinced you to abandon an elementary task that holds the key to literally every aspect of weight loss and longevity. The same 1.7 second solution I'll be handing over to you in the next 2 minutes. And if not now, I guarantee you'll soon be replacing doubt with excitement. Because this time, as every piece of the puzzle begins to fall effortlessly into place, and as the mirror quickly becomes your friend for the first time in years, or well, maybe even ever, you'll see the new you begin to emerge. One who stares back, emotionally, aesthetically, and now clinically verifying what medicine's highest honors, and now 88,487 people like you have already proven that even on your worst day, you are still your own best chance. The same chance that's allowed fathers, mothers, sisters, daughters, and of course, little brothers like me to finally get their person back. I'm Merrick Scott, and well, on that day, I was no more than a shell-shocked brother wondering if his sister would see another day. And the truth is, I was scared to death because after 20 years in the fields of health sciences, human performance, and ethically driven weight loss, backed by a list of accolades and credentials within the fields of functional medicine and health sciences, I had a pretty clear picture of the trauma being unleashed within my sister's heart that afternoon. See, 3 weeks before Mary's heart attack, her daughter, who like most 12-year-old girls captures every waking moment on her phone, had found her mom kneeling by her bedside, examining a picture of a woman she barely recognized. That morning, Mary had been brought to her knees by the before picture she once hoped would transition into the after picture deceitfully promised by her latest diet. I mean, put yourself in Mary's shoes for a second, because I'm sure like your story, Mary's didn't start out this way either. Once the apple of every boy's eye in high school, Mary had been blessed with a pinup figure fueled by hummingbird metabolism, yet now, even the girl voted most likely to go to the Olympics had suffered a fate that's become all too familiar for almost 87% of people like you and I. You know how it is, the freedom of youth is exchanged for the 9-to-5 grind. Nights out with the guys and girls are replaced by all-nighters nursing babies, and now, with Mary herself replaced by a younger, more slender woman, she had been left alone to sort through the rubble of what remained of her life. And like most of us in her time of need, searching for just a single win, Mary turned to the same empty devil we all know too well.
Would you like amazing results like these?
Upper body and legs and cardio.
You'll lose 5 pounds in your first week.
The same so-called solution that had tricked her roughly 32 times in the past. And granted, the number of diets you've trusted may be a little bit more or a little bit less, but the data shows if you're over 40, you'll have already spent 17 years of your life chasing their empty keto, fasting, and low-carb promises that always, in some way, end in defeat. But here's a little secret. Mary didn't use a single one of them. Not one of those traditional, tired, and often dangerous schemes that steals years from the end of your life with each attempt. Well, the best part is, by taking the next minute to expose the holes in their armor, you'll not only be fortifying your own, but you'll realize that a 1.7 second fat loss doubling shortcut, again, now proven to work by Nobel Prize-winning science, and now over 88,000 people, has been hiding in plain sight. It's been right in front of you all along. Because really, like I said, the only weapon you need, the only weapon you've ever needed, the same solution that's about to grant you an all-access, unlimited lifetime path to the leanest, healthiest, happiest, and longest-lasting life you deserve, well, it's been sleeping inside you, inside all of us as we speak. I'm talking about those 4 billion cells equipped with one very special program. One that is supposed to be running on a second-by-second basis, enjoyed and utilized by every generation until ours. Nature's own self-propelling disease and obesity defense system, holistically engineered to uphold the highest standard of immunity while defending your healthiest weight at all costs. It's actually initiated by a habit so simple, the same one I'm about to hand over to you in a second, that these people initiated it on a daily basis without ever really knowing they were doing it, and eventually went on to become the healthiest and happiest generation in human history, all while living a life of indulgence instead of deprivation. After all, there's nothing about counting calories or points on pyramid walls, is there? Cavemen didn't do burpees, and I didn't see anything about low carb or keto in the Bible. And I think we can both agree that yesterday's aesthetic icons all chose wine and cheesecake over boiled broccoli and chicken breast, right? Fast forward to today, and this cellular software is the same reason that needle on the scale never climbs for that friend of yours who gets to eat whatever they want, or why those lucky moms soar back to their pre-baby weight in a matter of weeks without stepping in a gym or counting a single calorie. It's how that one family member of yours never gets sick, and it's the fuel for all centenarians living their 100+ year lives. That program, although it's been referred to as the Swiss Army knife of weight loss and immunity, and even though geneticists and heart specialists and oncologists refer to it as the holy grail of longevity, biologists simply call it autophagy. An evolution-tested cellular survival software buried deep inside each one of your 4 billion cells that's hardwired to defend against disease and automated to swiftly yet safely propel you towards your healthiest weight. A breakthrough discovery so essential to life as we know it that autophagy won its first of 2 Nobel Prizes back in '47, serving as the evolution-tested and unshakable foundation for thousands upon thousands of medical and scientific breakthroughs over the next 80 years. See, it all makes sense when you think about it. Every biological system and each metabolic and immunity-related task happening inside your body right now is built to take care of itself. They're self-maintaining because, well, because they have to be. We don't have troubleshooters, maintenance workers, or mechanics that can take a look under the hood to make sure everything's running smoothly in there. Sure, doctors take care of us when we're sick, but even they're working blind from the outside, right? So for life as we know it to sustain itself, autophagy's got to be activated within the cell on a daily basis. Essentially, roll out of bed, put on its little hard hat, strap on its tool belt, and get out there to perform automatic maintenance on our vital organs and tissues. Every single day, autophagy is supposed to set the gauge that locks us into our healthiest weight while upholding the highest biological standard of immunity by virtually clipping away the dead or dying cells that hoard fatty tissue and invite disease. In fact, the power of autophagy, what it's truly capable of, becomes crystal clear when you take a look at men and women living back in the 1950s and 60s who, according to every worldwide census on record, were the healthiest, happiest, most skinny gifted, and as the numbers show, pretty much disease-proof generation in the history of mankind. Living smack dab in the middle of the fast food revolution, consuming double the carbs we do, these guys walked around with slender, athletic bodies that weighed on average 76 pounds less than ours. They bought twice as much sugar and ate 3 times the red meat we do, but diabetes and obesity barely existed. And I know it seems shocking, but it's not really, because autophagy knows that fat cells are quite literally biological sponges for disease, so it's supposed to go to work on a second-by-second basis to drastically shrink or eliminate them altogether, making room for stronger, newer cells who force a firewall of immunity, while at the same time building cellular roadblocks designed to stop the threat of rebound weight gain in its tracks. What's actually shocking is the potency of their pesticides in the 50s and 60s was actually 11 times more lethal than today's. Most of them smoked and they drank twice as much. Yet their chances of cancer, dementia, and early death was a fraction of what you're faced with, because when autophagy is running at its highest capacity, it's expertly pruning away the cancer, dementia, and diabetes-provoking pathogens that disable the cell, then actually recycling the debris as a clean and almost unlimited energy source for your cell's power center, the mitochondria. Powerful stuff, right? Now, the only thing was, under a mid-20th century microscope, scientists couldn't figure out what actually triggered autophagy. They didn't know how or what activated it. So at that point, they could only determine that autophagy simply existed and that it was thriving in all of them. And that if autophagy was working, so were they. And you know what they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then suddenly, somehow, we broke. In fact, you can actually pinpoint right here where, after taking 400,000 years of evolution to become the most bulletproof generation on record, after autophagy had evolved to take on almost any threat we could throw at it and more, we all suddenly found ourselves surrounded by almost 80 more pounds of fat, living the most disease-infested and illness-plagued era in human history.
Why are some people obese and others not?
Interestingly enough, you can also pinpoint where one non-existent industry, one that in fact didn't exist because it wasn't needed for those 400,000 years, found a way to become the fastest growing cartel in human history. And really, it wasn't that hard. See, by slowly perfecting their seductive sales schemes over the last 5 decades, they strategically managed to convince us that our health, our happiness, somehow depends on you looking like this, or now somehow this. Yet while we're blindfolded by short-lived victories on the scale, a look under the microscope shows these tactics that look like this, and this, essentially weaponize weight loss schemes and eating methodologies that are completely foreign to your cells, inflicting permanent cellular damage mimicking the same inflammatory response as rattlesnake venom, crippling not only your ability to maintain your weight, but terminating autophagy's ability to fight when you need it most.
Which is no wonder why 9 out of every 10 North Americans are sitting ducks for obesity and disease, because really, in the grand scheme of things, it's still the Wild West in terms of what these snake oil salesmen and industry leaders can say, claim, and do. So they can say just about anything they want to get you to open your wallet, towing the line between what's legal and what's unethical. And still, there's no FDA regulations that forces your low-cal, point-counting, ab-rolling guru to inform you about the long-term effects that not only dismantle autophagy, but connects their road to riches with your road to stuff like osteoporosis, diabetes, arthritis, dementia, and cardiac arrhythmia.
I could go on for days, but I won't. And you're gonna be rewarded for the time you've given me right now. But the truth is, the overwhelming burden of proof spanning decades has now clinically convicted these designer-engineered schemes. Ironically though, it's you, me, and my sister who are sentenced to a life of plus size, emotional decay, disease, and in a lot of cases, early death. Which is why it seems weird to say now, but Mary was one of the lucky ones. Because unlike the 330,000 American mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters who died from obesity-related diseases last year alone, my sister actually got to leave the hospital. And when she did, the doc gave her a grim sort of gift bag that reminded her of her own mortality on a daily basis, including a new multicolored cocktail of medications, a glucose meter to manage her official diagnosis as pre-diabetic, along with a walker to replace her cane and, well, I guess essentially what remained of her confidence. I'll tell you, it killed me to see my sister this way. As a highly respected botanist, Mary's reputation rose quickly as one of the planet's foremost plant scientists. Back then, it wasn't odd to receive Mary's calls from a satellite phone studying some exotic plant after spending 2 days climbing up the side of a mountain. Yet now, it seemed like it took her just as long to climb the stairs. So the truth is, I was worried and I missed the girls desperately, so we scheduled our first face-to-face video call that evening. Before calling, I had a quick look at Mary's Facebook to see what I had missed over the last 6 weeks. The most recent post featured a video of some other woman dancing with my eldest niece with the youngest one on her shoulders. I just figured it was one of the friends who had been coming by to help out. Yet when I pushed play, I was stunned. I realized that other woman was my sister. It had only been just over a month, maybe 6 weeks, but she must have been 20, maybe 30 pounds lighter, looking and dancing around like she was a couple decades younger as well. Moments later, I was greeted by Mary, sipping on a glass of wine between bites of pizza. And while it was clear her hospital-prescribed diet, or any diet for that matter, had found its way into the garbage, Mary had informed me that 4 of the 5 medications she had been choking back on a daily basis had made their way into the trash as well. It was also clear that at 8 p.m. her time, she wasn't getting ready for bed either. Hey, why are you all dolled up?
Mommy's going on a date.
A date? What do you mean? Wait, step back. That's the dress you wore to my wedding.
You better believe it, it's a size 6. I haven't worn anything smaller than a size 14 in years.
The cloud of depression and anxiety that relentlessly stalked her for the last decade, well, it had vanished, and I realized now I was looking into the eyes of what appeared to be the upgraded, new and improved version of the sister I thought I'd lost in our 20s. And although it was clear to me that I was looking at a brand new woman on the outside, follow-up tests revealed Mary 2.0's pre-diabetic blood sugar levels were flawless and that her thyroid had finally gone back to work. Echocardiograms and blood samples pointed to pristine arteries and perfect blood pressure, all powered by a heart that, according to her doctor, beat with monk-like serenity. Now, if we can just pause for a second here, I've promised and delivered truth and transparency since we first met. And even though Mary's only moments away from revealing the true secret, and like I said before, almost annoyingly simple solution that immediately induced the first stage of my sister's transformation. Oh yeah, so that's the other thing. Mary was actually just getting started. In the 3 months that followed, while indulging in her favorite foods without a single plateau, craving or setback, or even a second in the gym, Mary eliminated each and every prescription while incinerating another 48 pounds of fat. I was so happy for her, and I'll tell you, like you, I'm sure I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't have seen it with my own two eyes, but I finally got my sister back. All of us had. All right, so like, what's going on? How are you doing this? How is it even happening?
Well, after they gave Dr. Osumi the Nobel Prize for figuring out how to trigger autophagy on demand, it all began to make perfect sense.
See, growing up, I had always referred to my sis as Nerd Supreme. From the age of 10, she knew she wanted to be a scientist. I mean, 16 years ago, while the world gathered around their TVs to watch the finale of Friends,
I remember Mary was home watching the latest lecture from another esteemed plant biologist from the other side of the world, which is no wonder why she eventually earned her degree in botany, going on to become one of the world's most sought-after plant scientists.
However, this year, from her hospital bed, Mary watched from her phone as the real-life fountain of youth won its second Nobel Prize. Yet this time, world-renowned cell biologist Dr. Yoshi Ozumi and his team had figured out exactly how to trigger autophagy. They had figured out how to activate it on demand. Now, I won't get too sciencey on you, but Dr. Osumi and his team discovered the exact pathways that needed to be lit up in order to activate autophagy on demand. And subsequent testing showed that by consuming specific doses of an extremely rare class of all-natural bioceuticals in the right order, that even the most shattered metabolism at any age had the power to trigger autophagy, unleash your body's all-natural pull towards your healthiest weight, and quickly reinvigorate your immune system to its most youthful levels. And when my botanist sister, the family plant scientist, told me these autophagy-rich bioceuticals only choose to grow in the richest soils in the world, almost exclusively in the planet's 5 blue zones, it all began to make perfect sense. Of course, the planet's 5 clinically proven healthiest, leanest, and longest living pockets of population have unlimited access to these bioceutical-rich plants. It's part of why blue zones like Okinawa, Japan have the world's lowest obesity rates and why diabetes is almost non-existent despite consuming double the carbs we do here in North America. It points to why women and men living in Sardinia, Italy, and Icara, Greece have an uncanny ability to fight flus, colds, and infection while living well into their hundreds. And why women in Nicoya, Costa Rica, or Loma Linda with access to these bioceuticals are much less likely to die from strokes, heart disease, or suffer through terrible diseases like dementia. Now, the only problem was, Mary told me these plants almost refuse to grow on North American soil, and that, well, for someone like you or I to get their hands on them, well, it'd be next to impossible unless you were a plant scientist. In Mary's hands right now were hundreds of tiny seeds, the same ones she was holding in that picture from 7 years ago in Sardinia, Italy. See, while Vitis vinifera starts off by turning the dial down on hunger receptors to eliminate cravings while working to halt fat cell absorption, the Italians call it Erol di Cura, our heart hero, for its ability to act as power scrubbers for your arteries, swiftly removing plaque while reducing blood clots for athletic blood flow and squeaky clean arteries. And while she swore the next plant, Graviola, was the reason her MS and arthritic symptoms had vanished, a landslide of proof now confirms its power to eradicate inflammation and block pain receptors at the cellular core, while at the same time coming to the rescue of dying cells by destroying harmful pathogens. Then there was Mary's personal favorite, Camellia sinensis, which is why she was able to have her cake and eat it too without a second of guilt. The Okinawans actually call it their cheat leaf because despite their love of sweets while adding ample amounts of carbs to every meal, they routinely test for perfect blood sugar levels and walk around almost 80 pounds lighter than we do. Clinical testing also shows it's one of autophagy's greatest allies for its ability to unleash your body's most powerful fat loss sequence, lipolysis, inviting old and unhealthy cells to feast on fat while zapping mortality-filled free radicals on the way to dinner. Then there was a combination of lycopene, cat's claw, and burdock from Nicoya, Costa Rica. Scientists actually call this trio nature's groundskeepers for their ability to prune away the damaged parts of the cell that invite chronic disease. And get this, it then biologically bags up the debris and damage left by pesticides, herbicides, and trans fat for rapid elimination, all while leaving a polished path of immunity signaling enzymes in its wake. And last but not least, Mary had managed to find the crown jewel of bioceuticals, quercetin. With unlimited access to this plant, it turns out Mary had armed each one of her 4 billion cells with the planet's most extensively studied super nutrient ever. Like kryptonite for fat, Quercetin not only supercharges autophagy by eliminating toxin-hoarding fat cells, but then systematically blocks the creation of new ones as well. And if that wasn't enough, quercetin goes into overtime in trouble spots by igniting thermogenesis, forcing your most stubborn fat cells to meet their fate while you sleep. And while it goes to work with sprinter-like speed on fat, it also infuses Olympic endurance at your cellular core by armor plating it with mitochondrial biogenesis, shuttling sugar into muscles for instant energy instead of fat storage, while creating a blanket immunity so powerful that scientists across the globe are funneling their faith along with millions of dollars into quercetin as an effective tool for pandemic-proofing this planet. Pretty crazy stuff, right? So while it was becoming obvious that my sister was looking and feeling like a brand new woman on the outside, the best part was it was now crystal clear that it was all because she'd evolved into a new woman on the inside as well. Despite every thinkable odds stacked against her and without a second of starvation or sweat, Mary had harnessed the power of the planet's most powerful bioceuticals, supercharged autophagy, and literally transformed from the inside out. And more importantly, proving beyond any reasonable doubt that we all have the ability to crack the longevity code by safely and all naturally activating our very own intracellular defense systems, equipping our cells and ourselves with the unparalleled metabolic intelligence needed to biologically seduce fat cells into a state of self-elimination. And yet, just when I thought everything was perfect, Mary hit me with this.
Well, there is one slight problem though.
What do you mean?
Well, I'll let you see for yourself.
As Mary turned her computer around, I was shocked to see it was as though someone had scooped up an acre of rainforest and dropped it directly into her house. Now looking at a dining room that was half greenhouse and half laboratory, Mary confided in me the endless hours spent strategically sourcing and then paying to ship these plants from 5 different corners of the world had not only put a massive dent in her credit cards, but the majority of her mornings were spent searching through their thorny and tough exteriors, plucking the most potent buds and seedlings, then sanitizing and grading the roots, and finally running only the most vibrantly colored leaves through 3 food dehydrators for days on end, and then eventually finding its way into this thick, chunky, and sometimes thorny concoction. I mean, does it at least taste okay?
It tastes like I'm drinking a farm.
There's gotta be a better way.
I've tried everything. I mean, it would be a lot easier if we could pack it into a little pill or something.
Yet, as an industry insider, I can tell you right now that over 90% of North America's most trusted vitamins and pills in your cabinet right now grab their ingredients from China, India, or the Philippines, where their backward standards on safety and sourcing turn a blind eye to stuff like heavy metals and toxic fillers. I knew if we were going to do this the right way, there was only one option. So I put out the call to the owners of every prestigious award within the realm of supplementation. Led by a team of microbiologists and backed by every top level accreditation, these guys were the unmatched industry standard who prided themselves on rigorous testing and precise sourcing procedures that went miles beyond the competition. The best part was, through their 6-stage extraction process, not only did they say they could squeeze Mary's precise blend into an easy-to-swallow vegetarian capsules, but they agreed to infuse our blend with their own patented stack of naturally potent super nutrients, including Panax ginseng, arabinogalactan, beta-glucan, turmeric, and vitamin C for unmatched immune renewal, detoxification, and all-day energy-driven fat loss. And in addition to safeguarding against plateaus and cravings by regulating hunger-inducing leptin and thyroid levels, their medley had garnered the title of Best Day Ever Blend after users reported time-release euphoric bursts of mood and energy by safely enhancing happy hormones like epinephrine and serotonin, all while enhancing the delivery and absorption of Mary's original blend. After showing me the science, the safety, and metabolic superiority that their blend would bring to ours, I knew that if combined together, this multi-layered matrix of bioceuticals had the ability to grant each aspect and every function of the human body to work at its highest levels for anyone who had a human body. And after 7 months of rigorous testing, we had done it. The team had finally harnessed the power of nature's own Nobel Prize-winning single-second solution, proven to unleash limitless fat loss and even the most crippled metabolism. Then, after testing, our last hurdle was showing that the new formula had the power to recreate Mary's results for others. Yet, thanks to Mary's transformation pics and these astonishing videos going viral across the web, we had thousands of SOS messages from helpless yet hopeful men and women asking how she did it and if she could help out in any way. The only thing was, our little bottle of Last Chance Lifelines came with a pretty hefty price tag, which was taken care of by a second mortgage, along with convincing my wife to put the brakes on this pricey top to bottom renovation. So with me in the doghouse and only 480 bottles to spare, we selected the most weight loss resistant men and women over 40 for whom nothing else had ever worked. Whether they had 30 pounds to lose or 130, type 2 diabetes, turtle slow thyroids, or multiple sclerosis like Mary. 22 of our hopefuls that have even been failed by gastric bypass surgery. But on November 5th, 2018, almost 500 people received their first samples and began the first of many closely monitored test groups. And while they waited with impatient optimism that I'm sure was met with equal parts skepticism, for me, any speck of uncertainty had been eliminated, because now, with the compelling proof and chances of success for the first time ever stacked in their favor, I knew any possible chance of failure had been eliminated for them as well. Which is why I wasn't surprised for a second when I began getting tagged in posts featuring single-week success stories that looked like these, and time-bending transformations of everyday people managing to crowbar a year's worth of progress into 30, 60, or 90-day windows. Within days of starting, our entire team was knee-deep in emails, along with hundreds of phone calls and video chats. Social media was eventually set ablaze by those who'd been clawing away at one last chance for years, only to find out that it was already, and always, inside all of them the whole time. The total weight loss by the group was a staggering 26,432 pounds, which was split almost evenly, with the men averaging 44 pounds and the average lady torching a whopping 56 pounds of fat from her frame in the shortest time possible. Husbands saw the return of wives once saddled by the depression and daily defeat, now sharing a life of energetic joy reassembled with a new zest and lust for each other. Wives were exhilarated to see the upgraded revival of the stronger, more confident, and caring versions of the men they married, finally infusing that first date feeling to even the most ordinary days. Doctors witnessed their patients' most crucial health markers restored, stopping the need for side effect stuffed medications while safeguarding them against the surgeon's knife. My favorite part was watching sons and daughters get back to energetic, happy moms they remembered from childhood. We got tons, and we still get tons of emails from kids, young and old, thanking us for bringing back all those super dads out of retirement, enabling them to once again don the cape they'd hung up so many years before. I'm sorry, this is just where I get a tad emotional. Because like me, 480 families were reunited with their person, and since that initial test group, almost 90,000 other people and other families have shared in that same reunion. So if you're ready to unleash the same single-second process proven by award-winning doctors and scientists and rub out any chance of failure so you too can replace a life of suffering with one of salvation and continued success on and off the scale, the way God intended, using the solution Mother Nature flawlessly designed, all inside the body you rightly deserve and are destined to have, then it's time to celebrate. Or as we like to say around here, Cellubrate. As you can probably tell, I'm a little excited and extremely proud to introduce you to the world's first all-natural treatment scientifically proven to target the root cause of excess belly fat, accelerated aging, and weakened immunity using nature's most powerful metabolic magnification sequence that's won not just one, but 2 Nobel Prizes. Physician trusted yet prescription free, Cellubrate's multi-layered matrix of 24 power plant-based extracts sourced from and celebrated by the planet's leanest, most disease-resistant, happiest, and longest living pockets of population is the planet's only all-natural bioceutical blend designed to holistically rejuvenate your cells so they can quickly and safely escort you towards your healthiest weight. And the best part is, it's as easy as 1, 2, and well, that's it. Cellubrate literally does all the heavy lifting for you, which is why within seconds, yet without a second of starvation or sweat, your expertly manufactured, ethically sourced, GMO-free, and easy-to-swallow capsule will not only be launching nature's own counterattack against aging, while reversing countless years of dieting-induced damage, but you'll be unleashing the full potential of your metabolism's most powerful fat elimination sequence, so you too can look forward to the effortless and automatic weight loss, childlike energy, and relentless immunity as you join the growing army of Cellubrate success stories. And that's the thing, while we're extremely grateful for all the global attention Cellubrate's gathering on the world stage, and while we're more than honored by all the praise from the scientific and medical community's most respected health and longevity publications calling Cellubrate our generation's most comprehensive weight loss and immunity renewal supplement ever produced, what we're most proud of, and of course what should excite you the most, are the 80,000 plus men and women who found themselves in the same position you are right now, who made the once-in-a-lifetime decision to embrace nature's own Nobel Prize-proven single-second solution, now living a metabolically privileged and newly extended life inside the bodies that make them truly happy. And now, with almost 100,000 success stories and counting, it's a lot easier to swallow than skinny teas or trendy fad diets, isn't it? Which is why this time, it feels a little different, doesn't it? All those goosebumps, all those little butterflies in your stomach. That's your conscience and common sense finally confirming that you're only one step in the right direction away from securing the life you deserve inside the body you crave. Between the simplicity that just makes sense, the ocean of evidence that stacks the deck in your favor forever, along with science and medicine's highest awards, all those people, all that proof, you're starting to realize, and you better believe, that their experience, their new lives, you've got to realize that looking at them right now is no different than you looking into a crystal ball of your own future. One that's encapsulated with memories and moments that feature you living your own life of unlimited abundance, fueled by spring-fed happiness, all within the body you have a God-given right to. And after a 30-year losing battle with her weight and type 2 diabetes, Carol, a baker from New Jersey, would have said I was crazy if I told her she'd lose 12 dress sizes, all while sampling her own sweet and sinful little delicacies, finally becoming medication-free for the first time since her 20s. Daryl and Sandy from Syracuse would have thought their eyes were playing tricks on them if you'd showed them these pictures of them renewing their vows, a collective 144 pounds lighter. Speaking of walking down the aisle, if you told me my sister would be exchanging vows with the same doctor who gave her a 6% chance of survival, I'd say you were nuts. And if you told Mary she'd be having a baby at 44 with the same Dr. Dreamy she'd slipped into a size 6 for that night, well, she'd tell you were making up fairy tales. But like Mary and almost 100,000 other people have already proven, all of us have a fairy tale ending waiting for us, and with Cellubrate on your side, you're quite literally seconds away from making that dream a reality. So let me ask you, how much would that be worth to you? Exactly, it's priceless, right? And I know because I've been there. Well, in that moment, I would have handed over every penny I had to take it all away, and well, I pretty much did. A quick look at my first invoice and some quick math will tell you I fit the bill for those first bottles that were, well, they were literally worth their weight in gold. But luckily, those first success stories began to snowball, and as I'm sure you can imagine, during this pandemic, as reports of autophagy's immune-enhancing effects made it to the media, the demand for one small company's product began to snowball as well. So now, thanks to the thousands who made the decision to share their success, along with all the praise from some of the world's foremost health and longevity publications, combined with record-breaking 5-star reviews, thankfully Cellubrate's last 8,000 customers have only paid a quarter of the initial cost. And well, even though a quick look at all those reviews, along with all the praise on social media, will reveal that a $249 bottle of Cellubrate is 75% off, saved them thousands on unneeded and expensive diet foods, insurance premiums, and medications, while finally rendering their gym memberships obsolete, I still wanted to make Cellubrate as accessible as possible to everyone who deserves a second chance. Drop the price as low as we could to ensure that, the saying yes to yourself for once was a complete no-brainer, and more importantly, so that no one has to go through the ordeal I watched my sister endure. So that's exactly what we've done. And as you'll see in a sec, for today only, we've removed any and all obstacles, including price, that stand between you and that fairy tale ending. Because, well, when you get a little older in life, you begin to understand that it's not about the money, and you start to realize that time is really the only currency that matters. And with Cellubrate, even though you're literally moments away from buying more of that time, more priceless minutes, days, and decades inside the body you desire, alongside the people who love and depend on you, I also feel you should be rewarded, or I guess even reimbursed, for taking the time with me today to follow the science, take action, and finally make what I promise you'll look back on as one of the most impactful decisions of your entire life. So, with that in mind, we'd like to credit you for that time and give you another $180 towards Cellubrate, allowing you to gift yourself your first bottle for just $69. And while the other guys who have teams of accountants and a bottom line to answer to would tell me I'm stupid for offering Cellubrate at a negative profit for the next few moments, my motivation for actually losing money today is that when you've lost all the weight over the next few weeks or a couple quick months, when you fall in love with the way you look again, or maybe for the first time ever, and again, this is totally up to you, but if you like, do me a little favor and snap a pic of that new you with that empty bottle of Cellubrate and show the world that anything is possible. And again, Obviously, you don't have to do this, but even a little post or simply telling a friend may not only change their life, but as so many of us have found out, you might be saving it as well. Oh yeah, so that's the other thing. Because the research and all the new evidence, and now over 88,000 success stories have already proven that taking Cellubrate consistently for 3 to 6 months delivers the unlimited momentum you need to reach your goal as rapidly as possible. I never, and I'm sure you never, want to find yourself at the bottom of an empty bottle of Cellubrate, wishing you had made a more dedicated long-term commitment to yourself, right? Which is why, while today's special presentation is still running, you'll have the opportunity to get your very first big one under your belt this very second by getting yourself a 3 or 6 month supply with giant discounts attached that'll save you up to $570 or even $1,200 versus ordering through our website, where prices are unfortunately scheduled to double due to the overwhelming demand for Cellubrate's key autophagy signaling compounds. And on top of that, you gotta think, it just makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you're over 40 with more than 10 or 20 pounds to lose, or even further away from your healthiest weight, it makes sense that it may take more than just 30 days to undo the last few years or even decades of damage from dieting, right? And it really does become a pretty easy decision when you think about those 4 billion aging cells in their current state of deprivation, now thirstier than ever for the speed healing effects of autophagy. And well, plus you'll sleep a lot better tonight with the precious comfort knowing that you secured all the Cellubrate you need right now by getting a full 90 or 180 days worth for an additional 70% off while you still could, finally biologically guaranteeing that you realized your dream body in record time and, well, most importantly, stay there. And remember, Cellubrate was carefully crafted by people who demand perfection while insisting every step of your transformation is held to the diamond standard of success from start to finish. Which is why I've also instructed my team to safeguard this very first step in your journey by making it extremely easy, enjoyable, secure, and even more affordable to order Cellubrate right now. What I mean is, I love the convenience of ordering online, but like you, I hate all the added charges, the annoying yet necessary admin fees, along with all the sneaky subscriptions we've all been paying these days, right? So first off, it'll feel pretty good knowing that I'm paying today's admin fee for you, and as always, with Cellubrate, there's never any of those sneaky monthly subscriptions the big guys sneak in there on over 65% of your orders these days. None of that BS. And finally, when you choose your money saving option from the table below and hit the add to cart button after selecting your upgraded package, you'll safely proceed to our 7-tier security encrypted privacy fortified order page that looks just like this, where your information will be Fort Knox safe. That's a big one. And finally, and I feel this next part is super important because, well, even though your success is literally guaranteed by an irrefutable scientific law, backed by the process that owns not just 1 but 2 Nobel Prizes, and despite being undeniably confirmed by an army of men and women who, just like you, who've already proven that anything is possible, well, I just wanted to give you some more peace of mind knowing that you'll be in complete control at all times, and that by saying yes today, quite frankly, prearranging your success is also backed by a 100% satisfaction, no questions asked, 60-day money-back guarantee as well. That means if you're not able to look in the mirror over the course of the next few weeks and be 100% proud of the person staring back at you, and if the look in their eye doesn't confirm you've made the smartest decision of your whole life, send it back. And that goes for absolutely any reason you can think of. If your weight, your health, your confidence isn't dramatically restored, if your doc isn't blown away by the leaps and bounds you've made at your next checkup, listen, I don't care if you don't like the look of the label when it shows up. You're the one in complete control this time. So just let us know anytime in the next 2 months, and our extremely accessible 24-hour customer service team will issue you an immediate, no-hassle refund. Because remember, we're not a big company, and unlike the other guys, our reputation and this team's livelihood depends on us delivering on each and every pledge I've made to you today, which is why we've erased all the risk, removed any and all obstacles that stand in the way of you saying yes to Cellubrate, yes to yourself, and yes to the body you're biologically entitled to by fixing the one problem holding you back from the life you truly desire. Because the truth is, today you have the opportunity to immediately exit the path you're currently on that you now know, and as you no doubt experienced, is littered with danger and defeat. At this moment, you have the opportunity to say no more to traveling that path that ends way before it's supposed to, and instead say yes to a new path. Take your very first step towards the body you deserve, along with a freshly extended life filled with the moments and memories that are rightfully yours. And when you think about it, that is by far the most important part about saying yes today, because by the time the dust settles on this whole life thing, in the end, it's those moments and memories we're left with that are the only things that truly matter. And I think you and I can both agree that the key to walking that path hinges on the action you take during a few key decisions along the way. Decisions like this one, and moments like these, where a simple yes answer has the power to instantly change your path and allow you to collect all those happy souvenirs of a life well lived, a life that's now been guaranteed to last as long as it's supposed to. Because I think by now it's become obvious that saying no to this or no to yourself today, hesitating, or even saying I'll think about it is the same. Well, it's the same as saying I'll consider walking around blind for the rest of my life, and I'll let the people around me watch my confidence, my health, and my relationships fall like dominoes, falling faster and harder with irreversible impact as my cells continue to age. Where you pretend playing lifetime prisoner to a body you never planned on inside a body you hate is totally okay with you. And while you're in no way responsible for getting tricked into traveling that path that looks more like a minefield, it is your responsibility and obligation to all those who love and depend on you to take action today and say yes to the simple step that has the power to fill all your tomorrows with a reflection that makes you truly happy. A tomorrow filled with boundless energy and unlimited freedom, where you're not only as good as your last weigh-in, and you're not wrapped with guilt the moment you look at a cookie. And instead, a tomorrow where the proud look on their face confirms why they fell in love with you in the first place. All because you took complete and effortless control of your weight, your metabolism, and your health today. Today, by saying yes to yourself for the first time in so long, you're not only unlocking Mother Nature's most powerful metabolic gift with freight train momentum, but you're saying yes to being there to unlock more of those precious moments and memories for them as well. Yes to experiencing and even help deliver those moments and milestones that give meaning, purpose, and magnitude to their lives as well, which not only means being there to blow out all the candles on a lot more birthday cakes, but it means being there to help them blow out theirs too. Life is a fight for those moments and memories, and I'll tell you, once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over, which is why it's time to say yes to Cellubrate, and yes to more days with him or her, more nights around the fire, many more mornings around that Christmas tree for all of you, which, by the way, also means more s'mores, more ugly Christmas sweaters, more bad dad jokes, and a lot more turkeys, and of course, a lot more of their steps tomorrow, all because you were brave enough to grant yourself a second chance today by taking your very first step right now. Now, I can't do it for you, but I want you to let those words hit your heart and then follow it onto whatever path you choose to take. Thank you for your time today, and hopefully I see you on the other side.